Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm There Goes Rose, and today I'm doing books I recommend for autumn. So I have read all of these books. I've got 10 books to recommend, and these are some of my favourite books from across the years that I think are perfect for those autumn, cosy, warm, snuggly vibes. The first book I've got to recommend is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. I'm not sure if I could say all that in one go again. This is by Katherine Valentine. This is, if you've ever read the books I Hate Fairyland, this is kind of very similar. So a girl, she's very lonely, and her parents work a lot, so it's just her only sibling, and she feels quite lonely at home. She's got a big imagination, and one day, I think it's a grey wind, it's a grey or a green wind, arrives at her window and whisks her away to Fairyland because they believe she's the key to save some of the troubles that are happening in Fairyland. This is a very whimsical read. It reminds me a little bit of Alice in Wonderland in that sometimes you're thinking, what the hell is happening or what's going to happen? The rules in Fairyland are very different to kind of the rules we live by in society, and it's young adult fiction, so it's a really lovely read for autumn. The next book I've got to recommend is Pog by Padraig Kenny. I think I'm saying their name right. Again, another young adult book. I do tend to read a lot of young adult fiction as well as adult fiction. Something about young adult during autumn, those cosy kind of whimsical, snuggly, lovely vibes, I think comes from children's fiction as well. This is about a family that are dealing with grief after the mum dies. So David and Penny move to an old family house with their dad. Everyone's dealing with grief in their own way in this book, but it's about this little character, Pog, that lives in a loft and encourages them to go on adventures in the woods surrounding this house, and how they learn from each other and kind of work through their grief with the help of Pog. It's a really lovely read. It's a little bit emotional, but yeah, I recommend it. It's a great autumn one because it's kind of set in the woods as well. The next book to recommend is Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibañez. This is a really great fantasy. It draws inspiration from Bolivian politics and history, which I thought was very interesting because not something I've read kind of about or from before. Also, I've just opened the book and I just wanted to show you my little personalised stamp. So when I've read a book, I stamp it with my little stamp and it goes on my bookshelf. But yes, it's been a while since I read this one, and it's about a fake princess standing in for a real princess. So if the princess ever comes into trouble or anyone ever tries to kidnap or execute the princess, they're actually dealing with a fake princess. And it's all about the fake princess's story and the relationship to the real princess and how she's kind of used as this pawn, and how she grows as a character as well. The cover is gorgeous and screams autumn. I just looked at the next book that I chose to recommend, and oh, I love this book. It's Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. The Guardian described it as a heart-wrenching masterpiece, and I think that's perfectly summed up. Bawled my eyes out at this one. This is that we follow Pax, a fox who is rescued on the side of a road by two children. So I'll just read a little quote. It said, "I had a fox, I have a fox. We left him on the side of the road. My dad said we had to, but I should never have done it." And this is about Peter, who left that fox at the side of the road, and how he tries to find his way back to Pax. Is the fox dangerous now? It's a few years later. What will happen? Who knows? Incredibly emotional story. My dog's coming to join now, obviously. She's heard me speaking, didn't you? The next book I've got... Oh, Gwen. Sorry, Gwen just kicked my tripod. So if the angles change, that's why. The next story I'm going to recommend is Ghosted by Jenn Ashworth. I love Jenn Ashworth. It says it's a love story. Is it a love story? I think there might be some irony there. So this is about a wife, Laurie. Laurie wakes up to find her husband has gone. She doesn't know if her husband's just nipped out to kind of get some milk from the shop, or if he's gone out for the day. But after a kind of a day or a few days later, he's not returned. But despite her husband leaving with no note, that Laurie doesn't seem to think that there's anything to worry about, that her husband's just gone somewhere, he'll be back soon. So she carries on with her normal everyday life. And then eventually Laurie does report it to the police. And she starts, very interesting. It's definitely dark humour, and I love a bit of dark humour, perfect again for autumn. So has Laurie been ghosted by her own husband? Is something creepier going on? Why did it take her so long to report it? Are we, as the reader, you know, we start questioning Laurie, has she got something to do with this? Really interesting reason, I couldn't put it down. The next book I'm going to recommend is one of my favourite books of all time. It's called October by Katya Balen. Katya Balen is becoming one of my favourite authors. It's got beautiful illustrations in it by Angela Harding. Let me find one for you. And it's a little small one here, but there's an owl. This book is set in the woods. If you're noticing, I love books that are set in the woods. I'm going to read you the blurb because I can't do it any better, and yeah, I just want to give it the right recommendation because it's my favourite book. October and her dad live in the woods. They sleep in the house Dad built for them, and they know the trees and the rocks and the lake and the stars like best friends. They live in the woods and they are wild, and that's the way it is. Until the year October turns 11. That's the year October rescues a baby owl. It's the year Dad falls out of the biggest tree and goes to hospital. The year the woman who calls herself October's mother comes back. The year everything changes. I always cry at Katya Balen. I sobbed my heart out several times to October. It's set in the woods. The descriptions are lovely. It describes nature and food and foraging in a wonderful way. A perfect read for autumn. The next book I'm going to recommend is quite a cutesy read. It's Legends and Lattes. My favourite drink is a hazelnut latte. If anyone ever wants to get me one, there you go. So this is about an orc, I think it is. I can't remember if she's an orc or a yoga. An ogre. Yes, Viv the orc decides to leave her. She was kind of a warrior, and she's, you know, kind of won a lot of battles and saved a lot of people. She chose to leave that world behind to follow her actual dream, which is opening up a coffee shop in a very small town. And this is about Viv kind of wanting to kind of go off, do her own thing. She's not interested in building friendship. She wants to run this business, but actually she meets a lot of characters help her develop as a person. A bit of her past comes back to haunt her as well, when all she really wants to do is live this kind of retired life with her coffee shop. It's a very cute read. It's the first of a series. I'm going to pick up some more Legends and Lattes. 3 books to go. Another book I want to recommend is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe. This is translated from the Japanese. So there's a series of these. You don't have to read them in any particular order. So all of these stories are set in a cafe. It's about people that go to the cafe for a very specific reason, because this cafe isn't just selling coffee, it's also a time travelling machine. So if you sit in a certain chair and you order a certain coffee, you'll be transported back in time, but you have to come back to the present before your coffee gets cold, hence the title of the book. So this is about lots of different people and different reasons for why they want to go back in time. So some are wanting to visit someone who maybe passed away or they don't see anymore. Some are wanting to try and rewrite their life, so go back and change the way something happened to change the present. So yes, it's quite an interesting read. We meet a lot of different characters. Some of the characters across the books do intertwine, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying you don't have to read them in any set order. However, I have, because I've just been reading them as they get released. Some kind of characters I like more than others, and we also get to know the coffee shop staff as well, and we get to know, as we go through the books, a little bit more about why this is happening as well. The penultimate book I want to recommend is Sheets by Brenna Thummler. This is a very cute autumnal graphic novel about a ghost that lives in a laundrette and befriends the girl whose parents own the laundrette. It's about them. They're both quite isolated. They're both feeling very lonely. The ghost struggles to make friends, and so does the little girl. So yes, they start to become friends and develop a friendship and support each other. And they also help each other get through their own fears and worries about living in the world. So the illustrations are gorgeous. It's got this kind of purpley pink hue all the way through. Yeah, it's very cute. I think there's a second one come out of this now, so I'm going to have to try and get my hands on it for this autumn. But just very, it's a quick read, graphic novel about a ghost. What more do you need for autumn? The last book I'm going to recommend today for autumn is Kiki's Delivery Service. So if you like Studio Ghibli, you've probably seen the film Kiki's Delivery Service. This is the book that inspired the film. So it's very similar. There's a few changes, but we do follow Kiki and her cat Gigi. And this follows a witch, a kind of coming of age story where she goes off to live on her own and find her own way. As a young lady, she becomes a delivery driver for a bakery and she's delivering the baked goods on her wand. And we just kind of follow her and her journey, and her cat Gigi as well. Gigi gets a little side story as well, which is nice. And it's just quite a cute, nice read for autumn. It's my favourite Ghibli film as well. So they're the 10 books that I wanted to recommend for autumn. Just a added bonus, if you like, a number 11 book, which I have to recommend, but I've spoken about it quite a bit before, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It's one of my favourite books. So that and October, I'd say, are my 2 favourite books. It's about a travelling circus that you can only see if you're invited to, and there's lots of magic happening in this circus. Not everything is what it seems, and there are 2 main characters that are at war with each other, and the circus is the battleground. But the Night Circus describes food in a glorious way. It makes you want to go to the circus, it makes you want to eat toffee apples and toast marshmallows. So it's the perfect read for autumn. But that's my little honorary mention, because I know that a lot of people have already read The Night Circus. We see it every year come up, so I try to pick 10 kind of different books that you might not be on your radar. So that's it for today. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you again soon.